Welcome back to God's Church. I'm your host, Reverend R.L., also known as Eris at times. Anyways, the common man English would have been a disaster to the church. God's word available to all the public. So the power and the world would crumble from the church's income. So what did they do? They basically were selling indulgence, the forgiveness of sins. They're selling the release of loved ones from church-manufactured purgatory. People would begin to challenge the church's authority. The church was exposed to fraud and thieves by having their own Bible in their own homes. Availability of scriptures in English was the biggest threat imaginable to the wicked church of Catholicism. Neither side would give up without a fight. And today there's only 2 copies of the first edition of William Tyndale's work, the 1525 and 26. They even snuck them in bales of cotton and sacks of flour to get it into the customer. Tyndale's biggest customer was the king's men, who would buy every copy and to burn them. Tyndale used their money to print even more. In the end, Tyndale was caught, betrayed by an Englishman that he befriended, and he was incarcerated 500 days before he was strangled and burned at the stake in 1536. Tyndale's last word was, "O Lord, open the kings of England's eyes." This prayer would be answered just 3 years later in 1539 when King Henry finally allowed the funding of a printed English Bible known as the Great Bible. Before this could happen, Great Bible was huge, took a wheelbarrow to move. Miles Coverdale and John Thomas Matthew Rogers remained loyal disciples for 6 years of Tyndale's life. Carried in the English Bible project forward in 1535, they completed the Coverdale Bible. Translated the Old Testament in 1535 as Miles Coverdale finished translating the Old Testament, and in 1535 he printed the first complete Bible in English language, the use of Luther's German text and Latin as the sources. Thus, the first complete English Bible was October 4th, 1534, known as the Coverdale Bible. No, John Rogers went to print the second complete English Bible, 1537. It was, however, the first English Bible translated from the original biblical languages, Hebrew and Greek. Printed under the pseudonyms Thomas Matthews, an assumed name he actually been using by Tyndale at one time, as considered part of the Bible was translated of Tyndale, whose writing has been condemned by the English authorities. It was compromised of Tyndale's Patriarch and New Testament edition, Coverdale's Bible, and some of Rogers' own translations. It remained known as commonly as the Matthew Tyndale Bible, when nearly the identical second edition in 1549. Thomas Cranmer, the Archbishop of Canterbury, hired Coverdale at the bequest of King Henry VIII, the Great Bible. It became the first English Bible authorized by public use, as it was distributed to every church, changed to a pulpit, and a reader was even provided so the illustration could hear the Word of God in plain English. It would seem that Tyndale's last wish has been granted just 3 years after his martyrdom. Cranmer's Bible, published by Coverdale, was also known as the Great Bible. Due to its great size, a large pulpit folio measured 14 inches tall. 7 editions of this version were printed between 1539 and 1541. It was not till King Henry VIII that changed the conscience regarding the publishing of said book in English. His motives were more sinister, but the Lord sometimes uses the evil intentions of men to bring about his glory. King Henry VIII, in fact, requested the Pope permit him to divorce his wife to marry his mistress. The Pope refused. The King Henry responded by marrying his mistress anyways, later having 2 of his many wives executed or beheaded, and thumbing his nose at the popes by renouncing the Roman Catholicism, taking England out of under Roman religious control, and declaring himself as the reigning head of state, and also the new head of the church. This new branch of the Christian church, neither Roman nor truly Protestant, became known as the Anglican Church of the Church of England. The King Henry acted essentially as its pope. His first act was to further defy the wishes of Rome by funding the printing of the scriptures in English and the first legal English Bible. In spite, the ebb and flow of freedom continued through the 1540s and 1550. After King Henry VIII, King Edward VI took the throne. After his death, the reign of Queen Bloody Mary, the next obstacle in the printing of the Bible. her request to England to Roman Catholic, or change back to Roman Catholic, in 1555. John Thomas, Matthew Rogers, and Cranmer were burned at the stake as heretics. Mary went to burn the reformers at the stake as heretics, and hundreds of the crimes being Protestant. They were known as the Marian exiled, and refugees fled from England with little hope seeing their home and friends again, from England to Switzerland. Yeah, so Queen Bloody Mary gets into power, not wanting it and wanting to go back. She had a deal problem. The deal was a simple deal. It was simple, convenient. Deal was simple. You bring back Catholicism, we will give you notice. Blah, blah, blah. Money, whatever the Queen wanted. Queen Bloody Mary did that. 1550s, the Church of Geneva, Switzerland was very sympathetic to the reformers. Only a few safe havens for desperate people. Many of them met in Geneva, even led by Miles Coverdale and John Fox, publishers of the Fox's Book of Martyrdoms, or Martyrs, in which to this day there is only exhaustive reference works of the persecution and martyrdom of early Christians and Protestants from the 1st century up to the mid-16th century, as well as Thomas Sampson and William Whittingham. There, the protection of the great theologian John Calvin, which is part of the Reformation. Calvin's Institute of Christian Religion, and John Knox, the great reformer of the Scottish Church, that's true, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Methodist, etc. And the Church of Geneva determined to produce a Bible that would educate their families while continued in exile. 1557, the New Testament was created and sold as the 1557 New Testament of the Geneva Bible, with numbers, like right here, and verses. Yeah. Yes. And then 1560 was completely Bible with Old Testament. And they also call it the Breeches. Instead of Breeches, it was Breeches Bible. Geneva Bible is the first Bible to add number verses and chapters as well. Specific passages would be easier to every chapter, so it says yada yada yada. The Geneva Bible became the Bible of choice for 100 years of the English-speaking Christians between 1560 and 1644. At least 144 editions were printed anyways. 90% of William Tyndale's original English translations, the Geneva, in fact, remained more popular than King James Version, which came out in 1611. The Geneva holds the honor of being the first Bible taken to America by the Pilgrims on the Mayflower. Yes. So yeah, anyways, there's a good deal of the Geneva. Now, Queen Bloody Mary reigns, reformers could actually safely return to England. Yeah, England. They went back 100 years later or so, when about that. So let me continue in a second with part 4.